Welcome to the HMO Property Show, by investors for investors. Brought to you by the HMO Property Co, Australia's leaders in impact investing. Investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a positive financial return. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.
Hey there, welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host as always, Neil Gibb, and today I want to give you some tools. I want to give you some ammunition so that when you go out into the marketplace, you can use this information to make sound decisions when you're negotiating with real estate agents and when you're negotiating on real estate in general, whether it might be off market and you might be dealing direct with a vendor. But these are some of the questions we ask to get information out of a real estate agent, because for you as an investor to make a sound financial investment or decision, you need as much information as you can possibly get your hands on. And you can also try and get as much information from the agent, from the vendor as well. Now, the agent's not just going to say to you, oh yeah, Neil, this is a deceased estate and they'll take $200,000 for this property. No real estate agent's going to do that unless they're absolutely desperate to get this property off their books. So it's your job as an investor to try and get as many of these answers out of the agent as possible by asking these questions, which I'm going to give you today in the podcast. And right now, the market in Perth is absolutely bonkers. We've got just over 8,000 properties on the market for sale. I think 2,000 of them or 1,500 of them are actually blocks of land. And I think 2,000 of them are apartments as well. So there's like 4,000 houses on the market for sale. It's absolutely crazy. And then when it comes to rentals, there's under 2,000 properties on the market right now for rent. I think 1,905 in the last REWA release. And whether you take this information and you buy a HMO, or whether you take this information and you buy a standard investment property, if you use these questions and you ask them in the right way, you will get good answers so that you can then make a decision. But you can also craft your offer to best suit you and also the vendor, because not all vendors are price driven. A lot of them can be terms driven as well. So that could be extended settlement dates, or they might not want to move out the property. They might want to rent it back from the buyer for a certain amount of time. There's all sorts of different things that go on in the world out there. And it's your job as an investor to find out how you can best craft this deal to suit everybody. So first and foremost, give yourself some credibility when you go in the viewing. If you've never met the real estate agent before, make sure you enter and give them a good introduction to who you are and what you do, because real estate is a contact sport. And I don't mean we're all out there kung fuing each other. What I mean is you need as many contacts as possible in your black book so that when deals are coming up, you're the person that they call. So if you do know a lot of real estate agents, you obviously don't need to give yourself the introduction that I'm going to teach you now. But if you're meeting a real estate agent for the first time, it's always good to give yourself credibility so that they know that you are serious about the negotiation that you're about to enter. So for instance, and it's been a while since I've actually been out there negotiated because I've got Scotty going out there and doing it all at the minute. But I would go in there and I'd say, hi, my name's Neil Gibb. I'm from the HMO Property Co. We're buyers agents, we're property developers, and we've got a property management business. We buy between 25 and 50 houses a year for our clients, and we develop between $5 million and $10 million worth of real estate every year. We've got pre-approved buyers in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, and they're looking for properties in Perth, and we're helping them. So that instantly gives you credibility. The selling agent would be like, this guy is serious, and the questions that he's going to ask me now, I should probably answer for him. So over the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, I can talk about this stuff all day long. But I'm going to give you between 9 and 11 questions to ask real estate agents to try and get some really good answers out of them and to why this property is on the market, and then we'll help you best craft your offer for the vendor. So first and foremost, I mean, this is the most basic one that a lot of people will probably already be using. Mr. Real Estate Agent, how long has this property been on the market for? Now, you want to know if this is a fresh listing or this is a listing that's going a little bit stale. And, you know, you can definitely, there's tools online now that you can actually do all this information on. So, you know, before you go to the agent, you might already do this research yourself, and then you might cross-reference that the information is correct by asking the real estate agent. So, Mr. Real Estate Agent, how long has this property been on the market for? If it's fresh, they're probably not going to be open to cheeky offers unless you're in a rush to sell. But you will know that just by asking that one question. There's more questions that you've got to ask. If it's been on the market for a while, and as property investors and developers, we know that our best offer is going to come in them first 4 weeks. It's very rare that a property sits on the market for longer and someone comes along and offers you a higher price, because people will see it's been on the market for a while. They know that you're suffering. They know that you want to get rid of it. So the offers generally come in lower and lower and lower. Next question that you want to ask, depending on the answer that you get from the agent, why has the property been on the market for this long? Now, you just want to get a conversation going with this real estate agent, because like I say, it's a contact sport. So if you ask these good questions, and everybody loves to speak, real estate agents love to speak. So if you're asking them lots of good questions and they feel like they're giving you lots of good information, the conversation's flowing, they're going to remember you. And it's a contact sport. So let's get these questions going. So why has the property been on the market for this long? Is it an old listing? Has it been on the market with another agent? Has the price gone up or down? Is the vendor's price unrealistic, for instance? Like, are they asking, everybody thinks their house is worth X amount, and they always look at what's sold in the area and go, well, my property's better than that because I've got another bathroom, or I've got different coloured bed sheets. And it doesn't really matter, because the price is basically what the market is willing to pay, not what they want to sell it for, unless you're in a red hot market, of course. Next question that you ask is why are the vendors wanting to sell? Now again, some real estate agents might not give you the full background on this. So it's really for you to dig in a little bit further and find out why they're wanting to sell. So are they moving house? Is it an investment property that they've had enough of? Do they need to downsize? Are they trying to upsize? Is it part of a linked transaction? So do they need to sell this one for them to buy another one? Because if they've got an offer in on another property and they need to sell this property that you're talking about to then move forward into the next property, then there's the potential that they could accept a cheeky bid from you. So it's a good one to ask. Let's have a little bit of a drink. Next one we normally ask is, have you had any offers yet? Which is yes or no. And if they have, we want to know when it came in and what the vendor thought of them. Real estate agents can't tell you the exact price. So they might tell you areas if it's higher or lower than the asking price, if it was close to the asking price. And again, it could be 150 grand away from the asking price, and they might say it was close. It was close, because they're representing the vendor. So their job is to get the highest price possible for the seller. And you as a buyer, it's your job to get that property for the lowest price for yourself as well, because you're making money in the buy. The cheaper you can get that priced, the cheaper you can purchase that property for, the more equity you're going to have built into that property when you sell. So you're making money when the buy. Next question I like to ask is, what price are the vendors prepared to accept? And again, this, you might not get a clear-cut answer. It might be in the range of, they want between 400,000 and 500,000. I mean, that's a pretty big range. They might say that they're going no lower than 450. They might say they're looking for offers above this price. But again, it gives you a little bit of intel into where you should be basing your offers. And if there's no other offers on the property yet, and you know that the vendor wants this much money, then even if there's no offers and the agent says, but they want 450 or more, that doesn't necessarily mean that your offer needs to be 450. If you've got a good enough base case to say, well, based on X, Y, and Z, and it could be some other properties that have sold that were similar to it, and your position as an investor, and sometimes it's always good to say, the offer that I'm going to put forward is nothing to do with the way it's presented or anything like that. Just as an investor, for me to make this deal work for me, this is where the price needs to sit. And that way the agent doesn't get pissed off with you. They know that you're not just trying to lowball them. They know that you're coming at it from an investor's point of view, and you've got a set price point that you want to buy. When you find out what the vendors are prepared to accept, the next question that I normally ask is, how did they come up with that price? What are they comparing that with? tell me more on that. Like, why? You just want to get the real estate agent talking, because the more they talk, the more information you're going to get. And we need this information. It's absolutely gold. So once you find out more about why they've come up with that price, that can help you. Factor your price and put your price together based on what they want. And then I normally ask them, like, what length of settlement do the vendors want? Do they want a quick settlement? Do they want a long settlement? Do they want standard terms? Because if it's looking like this is just like a standard price and they just want standard settlement terms, then we might not be able to get a deal out of this. They might be just these little sticklers that are just like, I'm in no rush. It's on the market. It'll sell when it sells. If I don't get my 450, I'm not selling this thing. But if they turn around and say, yeah, they're in a rush to sell because they've got another property that they're trying to purchase, then you can craft a bit of a deal there. You might have a cash offer. We've done this previously where we've had clients that are cash buyers, and we've said, look, our clients will buy this cash unconditional. We did this on a divorcee sale as well. Cash unconditional, which means there's no conditions, no finance, no nothing. But we came in really cheap on that one. It was on the market for high threes. We picked it up for $320. You can't buy a property in that suburb now for under $450. So we've done some really good buying there. And if the settlement period is short, then if you can move faster, you can get that offer in, and you are the answer to their problem. Their problem is they need to sell that property. And if you can make it happen faster because you're cash and you don't need finance in there, and you can settle in 2 weeks, for instance, you're the answer to that problem. So don't feel bad if they do want short settlement terms and you can make that happen. You're the answer to the problem. So I like to ask as well, tell me about the features of the property. And this, when you ask this question, it makes the real estate agent, there's no real limits to what they can come up with. So they can talk about the location, the features of the house, the local catchment area, any shops that are close by, proximity to freeways, shops, bars, restaurants. This is a good one. Does it have development potential? Has it had any recent work done to it? Again, we just get the real estate agent talking, and we find out a little bit more. We get to find out if they're an area expert, because if they can't sell the area to you really well, then how do we know they've got the price for the property at the right price range? So again, we're just trying to get ammunition, and we're not trying to manipulate anybody or anything like that. We're just intel gathering right now. Excuse me. Are there any known issues with the property, land, or the neighbours? Now, it's very rare that they're going to say, well, next door's a crack den, to be honest. I'd stay away from it. They're only going to tell you what they want to tell you, and it's up to you, again, to do your due diligence. Joe and I have been looking at some blocks of land for us to purchase so we can build a house on. And what we did, we found a block of land and we went and spoke to the neighbours. And we said, what's it like around here? We're thinking about buying the property next door. We're having a baby in December. What can you tell us about the area? Is it quiet? Is it loud? What are the neighbours like? What's the street like? What are the schools like? What's the shops like? And just had a conversation with the neighbours, and it was just really nice to hear what they'd only been living there for a short time themselves, but just nice hearing about their perception of the area compared to our perception of the area. And it was also nice to meet the neighbours. So if we do decide to buy that block of land, then we know who we're going to live next to. But we also want to know if there's any easements, any council applications. Let's say, is it a developable block? Can the block be developed? Has anybody lodged DA and had it rejected? If it's been rejected, why? What else can we ask for? Any unapproved structures. So is the patio approved? This can be a good negotiation tool for you. We purchased a property for a client before, and the patio was not council approved, and we negotiated $25,000 off that purchase price for our client, and it cost us $3,000 to get the patio approved. So, and again, we were the problem to the solution. This property was pretty run down. It needed a good renovation. And we knew that it was causing the landlord headaches, because when we went in, the property was pretty run down. So even though we negotiated a further 25k off it as well, we did negotiate that off because we also felt that the selling agent wasn't the best selling agent. And, we were not expecting to get that 25k discount off the price. However, we put it forward. She negotiated with the seller. The seller accepted it, and we picked that up for 25k under market value, and it cost us $3,000 to fix the patio up. So you've got to ask these questions, guys, and find out, is everything approved? Is everything council approved? Also, we want to know if the block's got development potential, or the property is a renovator. If it's a reno job, we want to say to the agent, look, Mr. Agent, if I purchase this property for $450,000, what demographic do I renovate this property to? And that's because is it a young trendy area? Do we need and I'm not going to try and pretend I'm some sort of interior designer here, but do we need to hit a certain style for the demographic in here? Or is this a family area and, it needs to be decorated so like a family house, and it needs a big kitchen? So if we're going to add value in the way of a renovation, we need to know that. What do we need to do to it? And then if I do that to it, how much can I sell it for? And you want to get that information from 3 or 4 different agents as well. Do not just get that from the selling agent, because they might fluff it up a little bit so it sounds better than it is. Are there any other conditions that the vendors are looking for? So again, this is all about communication and just trying to see where you can help, where you can add value, what problem you can solve for the sellers. So for instance, they might want to rent it back. They might want to leave the furniture in the property. There's other conditions. I've gone a little bit blank there, but there could be certain things that the seller wants. Did we have one before where the seller there was something about a tree, and he wanted to make sure that the birds in the trees were looked after? Maybe I'm just making that up. I'm pretty sure there was something about a tree in the back garden where it had some bird's nest in it or something. I can't remember the full details of the story, but we said, of course, we'll look after that tree for you, not a problem. Just ask if there's any conditions that they want. They might want an extended settlement. They might not want the standard 30 days. They might want a 90-day settlement or a 6-month settlement, for instance. There could be, real estate is just a people-to-people sort of negotiation. It's just got an asset in between it, which is a house. But the two people are just negotiating on how they can buy that house, make it work for each other. The real estate agent is essentially the conduit between the seller and the buyer. They just pass the message backwards and forwards and give the seller advice based on their years of negotiation on what their reply should be. And then last but not least, we want to know if there's anything else that the agent can tell you about the property. They might have accidentally forgot to mention something, so just ask the question. Is there anything else you can tell me about the property, Mr. Real Estate Agent? Mrs. Real Estate Agent? We want to know if there's any other way that we can add value to this offer, if we can make this offer the best we can for your client. Because, yes, we want a deal, but we want to make sure the other person feels heard as well. We want to make sure they get a win-win outcome. We're all about win-win outcomes here. We like to call it the double-edged feather, because it's very rare that we craft a deal where only one party wins. We want to make sure that everybody gets what they need from a deal as well. So I hope that helps, guys. I'm going to quickly run through them questions again for you. How long has the property been on the market for? Why has the property been on the market for this long? Why are the vendors wanting to sell? Have you had any offers yet? If so, how much and when? What price are the vendors prepared to accept? How have they or you come up with the price? Tell me about the features of the property. Are there any known issues with the property, land, or the neighbours? What could the end product sell for? If this is a renovator's delight or a developable block. What length of settlement do the vendors want? Are there any other conditions the vendors are looking for? Is there anything else you can tell me about the property? So I hope that helps, guys. If you've got any other answers or any other questions that you like to ask real estate agents, drop them in the comments, send me a message. I'd love to hear what they are. And if there's any podcasts that you want to hear from me or my team, send me a DM again. I'd love to help you guys out. And join us again on the next podcast, which will be next week. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. I think I've used this one before, but I love it. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you stay up to date with all the cash flow positive property updates.